Hey guys, let's talk about last night's episode of The Good Wife. What can I say? Show is just that good right now. And before I go anywhere, can we just have a moment for when Will and Alicia see each other for the first time in a week? It's like heartbreaking, but it's so good. Okay, so that brings me to why Alicia and Will come face to face. And she was subpoenaed to come back to Lockhart Gardner because Lockhart Gardner is being sued for $6 million by an old client that says that they botched their adoption. And Alicia's being subpoenaed because she was one of the associates working on the case at the time. And we have another great episode of tennis going on between the two of them, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And Alicia basically only agrees to do her testimony if they will give her back her capital money that she put in when she was partner, and that's like $150,000. So she agrees that she will sit down and she'll be deposed. And when the deposition is going on, there's a lot of, little pokes back and forth between Lockhart Gardner and Carrie and Agos and Floric. But Alicia doesn't really take the bait. She doesn't basically pummel Lockhart Gardner. She basically just states the facts. But we quickly find out that they're not really trying to play fair. And they try to accuse Alicia of being the sole reason why they're in this lawsuit and that she is solely responsible for the $6 million. Then it's like, whoa, what is this all about? She was just an associate, and they claim that during the case, she became partner. And that is when we end up meeting up with Clark Hayden. And he basically was the one who came in last season and was trying to sort out their financial situation that they were in. And at the time, he had recommended that they put a partner on, and that was David, I believe. And David is the one who does a lot of the family law. So, it's boom, it's Alicia's fault. Nope, now it's David's fault. And then we get to an associate who worked on another associate who worked on it, and they say that he paid the client $10,000. Sorry, not the client, but the tribe, because he's part Native American, and they paid them like $10,000 not to argue with the custody. And when he was deposed, he basically went and threw Alicia under the bus. So we get all this back and forth, and ultimately Anthony turns on Floric and Agos and Associates and decides he's going to go back to Lockhart Gardner. So again, it was like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, but then Anthony sells them out, leaving it all again in Alicia's hands, saying that she's the one who was solely responsible for this, and now she is the one responsible for the $6 million. It's so devious, but it's awesome. So Anthony shakes hands with David, and he shakes hands with Diane, and he's now back at Lockhart Gardner. So the other storyline that was going on was a DUI case that jumped off the episode. And Will went to this case because the reason why he took it was because the boy who had called in, his name was Jeffrey, he was looking for Alicia, and they don't want to lose any more clients to Alicia. So he quickly jumped on it, and this man, his name's Jeffrey Grant. And he was pulled over because they said, were you drinking? He said, no. They saw medicine on the seat. They're like, oh, well, were you taking cold medicine? And he was like, yes. And so they pull him over. They're like, we don't have a breathalyzer with us. You have to do it at the station. So it turns out that his father's DNA was a partial match to a murder that happened on his campus at school. So they do a fake DUI, pulling him over so that they could arrest him, so that they could take his DNA to see if it's a match for this girl on campus. So this goes back and forth between the ASA and Will, and he, basically the kid's saying, I didn't have anything to do with this. We find out that the kid has a half brother, and that maybe the half brother's DNA is the match. And they test his gum, and it turns out that it's not, and it actually is this kid Jeffrey's 100% DNA match. So we had all this back and forth going on, and you're like, oh, take this two-year plea deal, and he's like, I didn't do it. Boom, now it looks like they're going to be going to court. So this obviously seems like a case that's going to happen down in the future, but it was a very cool case because, obviously Will took it on because he didn't want to lose it to Alicia, and then it turned out to be something way bigger than he ever thought it was going to be. So that'll be an interesting case once it actually goes to court. Then we had, and here's the reason why this ties in. So when Will went to the school to talk to the kid and a couple of the teachers that had been involved in the murder case in the past, he bumps into Alicia's brother, Owen. And Owen is all like, "Oh, hey, how you doing? I know you, Will. Yeah. You work with my sister. How's my sister?" And Will's all like, "I don't know." And then as they get to talking, Owen finds out that Alicia's no longer working at the firm and that she left and that she's starting up her own firm. And he's like, what? He has no idea. So he quickly goes over to his sister's house, where obviously it's Operation Agos Floric craziness that's happening in the house. And he says, "Oh, guess who I saw?" And he explains everything. And I love this scene between the two of them. It's such a good scene. And Owen always brings great energy to Alicia, and he basically calls her like warrior princess, and that clearly she's, she looks very happy, she looks very aggressive, and all that kind of stuff. And then he says, "Listen, I know the real reason why you left Lockhart Gardner. It's because you didn't want to fall more in love with Will, and you needed to distance yourself from him." And she's all like, "Oh, I don't know what you're talking about." He's like, "Listen, I know exactly the truth, so don't even pretend." So he leaves, and he goes back over to the law firm at Lockhart Gardner, and he basically tells Will in an elevator ride that the reason why Alicia left was because she was still in love with him and she didn't want to fall more in love with him, and it was all to separate herself from him, and that Peter and Alicia are not set in stone, and it's, there's still basically like there's still a chance. And Will basically is like, he's processing all this information, and then he just looks at Owen, he's like, "No, it's done," and he leaves. And of course Owen is sad because he knows the truth, he knows what's really going on here. It's not that she wanted to abandon Will, but she just needed to separate herself from the situation. So it was a great moment. Will hears the truth. What he does with it, who knows, but at least it's out there now. And then we had another storyline going on where somebody was basically spying on Grace, and it was really creepy. It was a student at their school, and he had basically hacked into her webcam on her computer and was watching her change, and like creepy, okay, totally creepy. And her brother finds out who it is, and he punches him out, and let's hope that that's the end of that. But what it also created was an interesting dynamic between Alicia, Carrie, and the new guy, what's his name again? Ooh, I keep forgetting, Clark. And because they thought that it was actually Lockhart Gardner spying on them when it wasn't. And so they basically were staging these conversations to make it sound like clients were possibly leaving Lockhart Gardner, so that they would kind of like run in circles trying to get them back even though they weren't leaving. So it was kind of funny. It created a little bit of comic relief during the episode, even though what it really came down to was completely creepy. And who knows if we're going to go back to that storyline, because now there's like naked footage of Grace out there on the internet. So it's really totally disgusting. So anyways, the episode ends, and it's again, I would say that this was not a good round for Floric and Agos, because they lost one of their associates, Anthony, because he weaseled himself out and went back to Lockhart Gardner. But they did gain Clark, who said he was going to work for them for free up until they actually get some money on the ground. But he's basically going to help them out with their financial situation and everything. So, that was a plus for them. Losing a snake in the grass and gaining somebody who's really reputable and can really help them out. So I'd say good move for Floric Agos. But as it stands right now, it's definitely Lockhart Gardner 2 times, okay? Because they won last week, and I think that they're still going to win this week's episode. So, all right, guys, that's all I got. And another good episode. I'm proud of how this season is. I'm pleased with how this season is moving forward, and I can't wait. It's very unpredictable right now, and I love that. So, guys, I'll see you next week. Bye.